our alumni group we've have about 10 or so alumni, and then Ryan is included in that, one of our other swimmers, who have been, working really hard to try to, get this program back and look at all the different scenarios. I guess the big thing is I wish they would just take the time to have a conversation. All of our alum that are in that group, we all obviously went to ECU, we paid money to the university. So I think they owe us at least that. It's just an honest conversation. I think one of the board of trustees told Ryan we needed to raise $30 million. That's absurd. Again, it's like they want us to fund the entire athletic department. So, I think just having an honest conversation and would go a long way.
Thanks for being here on this episode of The Journey. Now, we've seen a few universities in the United States cut sports programs in order to save money as we wade through this coronavirus pandemic in 2020. The pandemic affected many universities so much so that it forced them to slash budgets to stay operational. The downside of that was cutting athletic teams, and the first NCAA Division I swimming and diving team to learn about its removal was East Carolina University in May of this year. And several other universities followed suit in later months. And joining me on the journey are two people who were affected by this announcement. Kate Moore is the associate head coach at East Carolina, and Ryan Brennan is starting his junior year at East Carolina. Thank you both for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So these are terrible circumstances in which we are having you on the show, but I'm glad you're here to talk about East Carolina University swimming and the efforts to save it. But before we talk about that, I want to learn a little bit about the journey both of you took to land on the campus at East Carolina. So, Kate, I'll start with you. You were a student athlete at East Carolina before you became a coach there. What convinced you to pack up and move from Pennsylvania all the way to Greenville, North Carolina?
Well, actually, I never really heard of East Carolina up until probably my junior year. One of a girl on my team, my club team back home, she went to ECU. And so I started looking more into the school, and I've always loved North Carolina. We went on vacation in North Carolina almost every year. So I was really familiar with the area. But they actually, at the time, they still have it, but they had the major that I was interested in. Now I changed my major like 4 times since I got on campus, so that didn't really matter, but that they were one of the only schools that had the major that I was looking at. And then Coach Kobe, the head coach at the time, he was awesome. He just really made you feel wanted at the school, and I think my interactions with him were just so positive. And when I came down on my recruiting trip, it was I knew the second I was here that this is where I wanted to be. So that's what kind of initially got me down here, and then I ended up I was a PE major. I was planning on teaching physical education, and couldn't find a job right away. So Coach Kobe let me come volunteer with the team, and then that kind of turned into part-time, and from there just kind of progressed. So it worked out.
Yeah, it's quite amazing how you have all these plans in your life of how it's going to go, and then you just take this, not a sharp right turn, but you just take a little detour, and then it ends up to something that you I'm sure really love, because you've been the coach at East Carolina for 10 years.
Yeah, actually 10 years I believe was full time, but it was actually 13 when you count the volunteer, and the part-time was, it was really full-time. I just wasn't getting paid very much. But yeah, it was a long time, being in one spot, and 17 years in total between coaching and being a student athlete.
So Ryan, you also grew up in kind of that New England area up in New Jersey. So it had to be a big change for you moving to North Carolina.
Yeah, definitely. It was a big decision, and I know we made the right one. It was first thing that was weird was everyone said y'all instead of you guys, so that was a big adjustment. But other than that, it was amazing. I mean, obviously I loved it so much that I decided to stay, and I really enjoyed my time on the swim team that I had.
So, Kate, what did you see in Ryan that made you believe he'd be a great asset to the team?
Ryan was just, he's just such a nice kid. And, I mean, he was someone that really stood out to me that I thought was going to be, he was obviously a good swimmer, but really stood out as someone that I saw as being really fitting well with the guys on the team and being a good teammate. And that's really, honestly, he did a great job for us from a swimming perspective, but I would say, almost more importantly, he was just awesome when it came to recruiting and just being a good team player. And, if he was one of those guys that if you needed something, he was a go-to type kid where, if I needed to get a bunch of guys to, a game to hang out with the recruits or something, he was my guy that I went to. So, I kind of saw that in him even as a high school senior, just, great attitude. And he was definitely someone that we wanted.
And Ryan, you broke 52nd in the 100 backstroke this past February at the conference meet, the American Athletic Conference Championship. How long before that was that your goal?
Well, I actually broke it in high school. So freshman year, I got mono during November, December. So it set me back a little bit my freshman year, but it was great to do it again at conference this past year. It was amazing. Personal best 49.6, I think. And it's been a goal for me for a long time to keep going lower and lower and lower, because coming into high school, my 100 back was minute and 2. I never really swam full time. I started taking it serious freshman year, end of freshman year of high school, and I kept progressing until I got to 49.6.
Wow, 102 when you started high school down to 49 seconds. That's in 5 years. That's a very, very big drop. What were you doing in high school to get those kinds of times where you could, like you said, break 50 seconds in high school?
So my coach, Ryan Sprang, I swam for GPAC, Greater Philadelphia Aquatic Club, and he and his brother were coaching at the time. They really instilled in me hard work, underwaters, and just arm speed and backstroke. And I think that's my best asset is my underwaters. And obviously I'm not the biggest kid. I'm 5'10", normal size, I'd say. So I had to beat people and get faster another way that my strength couldn't do.
So after that great swim in the 100 back and other swims you had this past February at the conference meet, a month after that, the team was sending 2 swimmers and a diver to the NCAA championships. It was a very big deal for what I guess we call a mid-major Division I school. And then 2 months after that, the athletic department announced it was cutting men's and women's swimming and diving as well as the tennis programs. I'm curious how you both learned that the swimming and diving teams were going to be cut.
Well, they did a Zoom call with both teams together. I had a hunch a couple days earlier. There was a few things that came out that just didn't look good. But honestly, up until that week, it was a complete. We're definitely pretty blindsided by it. I don't think anyone ever thought that swimming was going to be the one to get cut. And obviously, we're not a proponent for anyone getting cut. But it was pretty surprising. Definitely to me. I've told, I don't think anyone ever thinks their program's going to get cut. I know we certainly didn't. I've told, recruits and everything in the past when they've asked how safe our program was and how much support we have. I actually asked about it about a year ago when I was looking at another job, and I was told that we were safe. It was pretty shocking. It was a Zoom call, very straightforward. AD came on for about 2 minutes, read a statement, compliance director came on, read a statement, and then that was it.
Wow, very, very unemotional, it seems like.
Yeah, and I don't think it was easy for them, but at the same point, it was just I don't know, it was hard because we couldn't be there with them, and all these kids are all over the country and world, and some of them didn't even make it on the Zoom call, and they learned by social media like an hour later. So it was. And also, obviously, our incoming kids weren't on the call either, so they learned by email, and some of them didn't even get the email. So it was a hard day.
So, Ryan, did it take you by surprise as well?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're a top program and top 50, I think, in the country, I'd say. We bring championships to the school. We're great academically. And it's everything you want for a non-revenue sport to be is great in the classroom, great in their field athletically, and it was surprising to me that we were chosen to be disbanded.
So, Kate, before this announcement, what kind of plans did you have for the team going into summer? Obviously, with coronavirus canceling a lot of things, including Olympic trials. But what was the plan for the team with the summer and the fall?
I mean, obviously, like everyone was at home, so it was, I think our goal was hopefully that these kids would be able to get back in the pool soon, because at that point, most of them had either very limited access to pools or weren't back in the water. We had probably one of the most talented incoming classes ever. I would say we had some kids coming in that were, top 100 type recruits, and kids that would be contenders to make NCAAs pretty quickly. We were really excited about the fall. Obviously, the guys just came off a championship. I think we would have had a great chance of repeating, even with, we had some pretty talented kids graduate this year, but like I said, we were bringing in some pretty heavy hitters. On the girls' side, we were definitely in kind of a rebuilding mode for a couple years, and we were getting to that point where, we were going to be, we moved up this past year. I think we would have moved up again on the girls' side. Like I said, we had some really, really talented kids coming in, so we were excited about it, and we were just, ready to get back to swimming. And a lot of our kids do go home in the summer anyway to train with their national teams, and especially our international kids. So that wasn't really a big difference from what we normally, would have seen during the summer. But we were excited to get them back and get rolling.
Yeah, I'm sure it kind of threw a lot of kinks into what was going to be happening and moving forward. And Ryan, you were at the forefront of trying to keep this team alive, and still are at the forefront of keeping this team alive. You created a petition, and I'm curious how the ideas came about and how you got involved with it.
Kate was the one who originally put me in a group chat with a bunch of people, and we were thinking of ideas, how we get awareness around Greenville community. And I came up with the idea of doing a change.org petition, because I've seen them work in the past, and they usually go pretty viral if the cause is worthy. And I thought ours was. So it was pretty quickly that it went from 100 people to then 10,000 people. And I think it's at 20,000 people now have signed it. So it was pretty cool to see all the support from not just our family and people like that, but other students have signed it. And it's pretty awesome to see.
So petitions mean a lot. That shows that you have the support, but is there anything that the athletic department says can be done to get the swim and dive teams back in operation?
They've given us pretty unrealistic numbers. By the numbers they've given us, it's like they want us to support the entire athletic department. Right now, we're still working towards, obviously continuing to spread awareness that, we want to get this team back. Obviously it's not going to happen for this season, but, I think the goal is to get it back or get it reinstated at some point. The big thing for us is we really haven't been able to sit down with anybody. No one's agreed to even talk with us. We've, myself and our our head coach. We've looked a lot at the budget numbers, and we got it down to half of what they proposed, which would really mean that with tuition coming in and the student fees that these kids pay, that we actually would be bringing in about $500,000 a year instead of the opposite. So I think what a lot of people don't look at is, even though the athletic department is spending, say, $1 million, just for example, these kids are bringing in way more than that. Most of these student athletes are paying their own way. So, a lot of people assume that everyone's on a scholarship, and that's just not the case. Most of them are not. So, that's something that we've been trying to push, and especially at a school like East Carolina, they need the enrollment numbers. So it actually showed that they were about, I think, 50 or so short of their goal this year. Well, you just cut 70 kids, so you would have met your goal if you kept them.
Right. It's unreal how they make these big demands and don't really see the big picture of it.
Yeah.
So Ryan, I'm really curious. You chose to stay in Greenville for your junior year instead of transferring to another school and possibly continue your swimming career. So why did you decide to stay?
I decided to stay because my friends staying, too hard to not see them for a year and live without them for a long period of time. It also would have been weird putting on another team's colors, another school's colors. I bleed purple and gold now, and it just would have been weird for me to wear another team's uniform.
And so what's the atmosphere like, even in Greenville, outside of the university or within the university, about the swimming and diving teams not existing right now?
So most of the people, we just got kicked off campus for COVID. So the people that are here are just living off campus. But I've heard multiple, my neighbors that were supportive of us, they said they signed my petition and stuff. So that was pretty cool to see. Even though I never met them before I got here, and they're like, "Oh, I signed that petition." I was like, "That's awesome." So it was cool to see stuff like that around Greenville.
And Kate, you have already accepted a position as coach across the country at Washington State University. Was there ever any thought that you would stick around to see if maybe this program would survive and you would be back on deck?
There was definitely, that was always the hope that. Honestly, there wasn't a lot of movement this year, especially with COVID happening as far as jobs go. So that was definitely a hope that we'd be able to save the program. But honestly, I don't know if I would have been here forever. Our head coach is going to be here, or he was planning on being here forever, and he's not all that much older than I am. So I kind of reached my peak at East Carolina. I could have stayed here for a long time and been happy, but I do, my goal is to be a head coach at some point. So, I would have to move somewhere at some point. I just didn't think it was going to be this year. But I am really excited though about going out to Washington State. It was Matt Leachak. He actually reached out to me probably early July about his position, and honestly, I didn't really think too much about it at first, just because it was in Washington and I'm in North Carolina. But the more I talked to him and the more I learned about kind of his vision for the program, it was kind of similar to what we were trying to do here. Obviously, at a little bit of a different level. They're in the Pac-12, and it's a lot more competitive when it comes to who you're swimming against. But he had a lot of the same values that I did or that I do. And so that was, something exciting for me. So, I'll still continue to do everything I can to help reinstate this program because, as an alum, I do want to be able to come back and, have a reason to come back. I think that's probably one of the worst things about this is once we leave, like I have no reason to come back here.
Right.
Just like Ryan said, I've bled purple and gold for so long. And honestly, I'm not very proud of the university anymore. So it's just, I think that was kind of the worst part is, I would like to have a reason to come back here. And if there's no swimming and diving team, then I just don't see why that would happen.
And I'm not like taking you by surprise and bringing on the athletic director on this interview or anything, but if you could speak to the athletic director right now and give a plea to keep the programs, both of you, I'm curious, what would you say right now?
Ryan, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I would. I mean, it's a tough question because I don't think we're ever gonna get that opportunity. But I do wish that he would have said it to our faces. The Zoom call, we didn't have our cameras on, so it was just like a black screen. He was talking to black screens the whole time, so you didn't really see how it felt or affected us. I know I broke down. I know all my teammates broke down in tears. So it was a really sad moment. And I just wish he would have been able to see how it affected us in the time that it happened.
And I think I just wish that we could have our alumni group we've had about 10 or so alumni, and then Ryan is included in that, one of our other swimmers who have been, working really hard to try to, get this program back and look at all the different scenarios. I guess the big thing is I wish they would just take the time to have a conversation. All of our alum that are in that group, we all obviously went to ECU, we paid money to the university. So I think they owe us at least that. It's just an honest conversation. I think one of the board of trustees told Ryan we needed to raise $30 million. That's absurd. Again, it's like they want us to fund the entire athletic department. So, I think just having an honest conversation and would go a long way. I'm sure. I don't know. And, I think our hope is that, the chancellor is an interim chancellor. He doesn't want to be the chancellor here. You never know how long the AD is going to be here. So I think our hope is that, when they do hire another chancellor, that maybe we'll have a different reaction and maybe we'll at least be able to get a conversation.
So as I said, East Carolina was the first swimming and diving program in the country to get cut, and others have followed, most notably the University of Iowa just recently. Either of you, have you reached out to these other programs to talk about what can be done nationwide to not only reinstate the programs that have been cut, but also keep the ones that are probably on the bubble from being removed?
So we actually, we've been in touch with Greg Earhart, who's the College Swim Association or Coaches Association head. So I know he's been talking with a lot of different programs. I sent a message the other day to the William & Mary team. Obviously we used to swim them every year, so they're, we were pretty close with them. We actually we've worked pretty closely with, wasn't another swim team, but Winthrop Tennis. I actually had a connection with them who one of their alumni was a recruiting service person. So a lot of our Brazilian swimmers had come from his recruiting agency. So they actually did an ESPN article about that, about the collaboration between the two programs and just kind of our exchanging of ideas and that kind of stuff. But I do think it would be really beneficial for, representatives from William & Mary and Iowa, Boise, all these programs that are getting cut. I think, because they're definitely, we haven't seen the last of it. There's going to be more. And, I think having those conversations and, if you could bring any of those programs back, it might not be ours. Hopefully it is, but, it would be a win for the sport to be able to bring some of these programs back.
Well, I really hope a lot of positive things come of this. And, we really hope that we see East Carolina back on deck very soon. Kate, Ryan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
And if you'd like to sign the petition to save East Carolina University, you can go to change.org and do a search on ECU Swim and Dive. And the petition is still open. You can sign that and state your voice that you want to save this program. So thank you very much for joining me today. And as we always say, it's not just about the destination, it's also about the journey.